What's going on, guys? Josh here from Momentum Productions. How is everyone doing today? I haven't been live for a while, so I decided to get online and do a little live stream for my subscribers and viewers. Maybe I can answer some unanswered questions. Let me know. So please go ahead and ask any questions that you may have. Of course, I couldn't have this live stream without the crane too. So if I left out any answers for you in the review video for the crane 2, let me know. All right, I'll be more than happy to answer them for you. So right now I'm using crane 2 gimbal, along with the Sony A7S Mark I and a 14mm Rokinon lens. So not really a heavy setup, but as you can see, it's a piece of cake for the crane 2. So if you have any questions about the crane 2, let me know. I can also pull out the crane version 1. So I can, yeah, you know, we can definitely do that as well. Hey Josh, haven't seen you in a while. What's up, Albert? How you guys doing? Trey Videos 1 says, is it good to shoot manual or autofocus for video? I have an A6300 and an A7R2. So I'm shooting with, so this is the A7S. I usually shoot with my A9, which has outstanding autofocus. So if your camera is good with autofocus, use autofocus. Why would you want to struggle with using manual focus? If you don't have the best autofocus camera like a Panasonic GH4 or GH5, then yes, you will have to shoot in manual focus, because then you risk your images being soft, and you don't want to deal with all that noise, all that bad stuff. So yeah, A7R2 does a very good job with autofocus, for example. A6300 is also supposed to do a decent job with autofocus. So with Sony cameras, I really don't have an issue with focus. My biggest problem was with Panasonic, and still is with Panasonic. Even on the new GH5, the focus is absolutely dreadful. So you gotta find a way to properly control focus on there. And I will come out with a tutorial video on how to control focus without using a follow focus system on your lens. So stay tuned for that. That's in the works. I'm working on it. I have a ton of videos that I need to be working on. Trey Video says that he has a 6500. Okay, so that's even better with autofocus. So you're good. You're fine. But not all the time do we use autofocus lenses. So sometimes I use a manual lens like the Rokinon 14mm. But listen, if you want an answer right now on how to control focus, my best advice to you is to set the focus at infinity and increase the f-stop number to about f11, f12. You let in less light. You don't get as much bokeh, but you do get sharper images since you are letting in less light. So the chances of you getting more objects in focus are a lot higher when shooting at a higher f-stop. Damon says, hi, I'm from Germany. I regularly follow you. Thanks, bro. Albert Weiss says, I got myself a Canon 7D Mark II. Good camera. I'm really happy with it. Damon says, I especially like your Steadicam videos. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. So, yeah, I've kind of moved past the traditional Steadicam, and I got my, I'm obsessed with 3-axis gimbals now. Ever since I had my first drone, the DJI Inspire 1, I've been obsessed with gimbals. I mean, it's just the fluidity that you get out of it, the smoothness you get out of it, the quality shots you get out of it. I mean, and it's just fun to look at and fun to use. I like doing crazy stuff with the gimbal and watching the camera just move around slowly. So it's really interesting to see how all of this stuff works. I mean, look how quiet and smooth it is. It mind boggles me. Like, honestly, like, I can't believe that this type of technology exists. It's really, really shocking. Damon is asking, do you use Final Cut Pro or Premiere? I use Final Cut Pro. And there's a few reasons behind that. I've answered this in quite many other live streams, but I'll do it again. So Final Cut Pro offers me speed, ease of use. It's very user-friendly, and I have a ton of plugins for it. So that on its own is a pretty good, it's a pretty good system for me. Damon says, which gimbal is that? This is the Jiwon Crane 2, and I released a video on it yesterday morning. You need to watch that video because it's getting very, very good reviews. A lot of people are happy with it. And again, YouTube is doing something weird with their algorithm again. My channel was doing fine for the last 3 or 4 weeks, and then something happened again with the algorithm where just everything starts cutting out again with views and subscriptions. So go ahead and check out that video. Bump up that view count, bump up the subscriptions. I don't know what YouTube is doing with their algorithm. It's very irritating how they just keep changing it every other day. So go ahead and check it out. The Crane 2, and check it out. We have a LCD display. Sorry, LED display. It's an OLED display on the back here. So you can see exactly the current status of the gimbal's battery, the follow modes. When you're using a Canon camera, you can actually control ISO, start and stop, and aperture. You can see all of the settings with this tiny little OLED display, but surprisingly, you get a ton of information with this OLED display, which I really enjoy. It's just fantastic. So I think, yeah, I'm very happy with this gimbal. We have a joystick here as well, which I can control and manually position the camera. See that? So it's very fluid. I can turn off the motors, put it into standby mode, swing it around manually. See that? It's pretty cool, isn't it? And then I can just turn the motors back on. So I don't have to turn off the gimbal completely. I can actually just hold the mode button and put the gimbal into standby mode. That way I can swing around the gimbal freely, right, without damaging the motors or stressing them out. And then hold the mode button, and it'll spring back to life. Here's how the gimbal works in inverted mode. You see how smoothly it just goes into inverted mode? Doesn't trip out at all. Very, very smooth. Cool, right? Yeah, going back into upright mode very slowly. You can see that the gimbal handles that transition very well. That's very difficult for gimbals to do, by the way, because it has to know exactly what you're doing. It has to use the IMU sensors, the gyroscope, all that good stuff in order to determine what you're doing. So, yeah. Any questions, guys? Any questions? Let me know what you're thinking. If you're struggling with anything, let me know. I try to do these live streams because I want to reach out to my audience more. So if you have any questions regarding filmmaking, contracts, payments, how much you should charge, let me know now rather than waiting for a tutorial video, because tutorial videos can take me weeks or even months to produce. So raw talk, you're live with me right now. Tell me what's on your mind and let's talk about it. That way we can cover some grounds here. Anybody? No? Nobody? Nobody with questions? Ralph is asking, do I have the remote control? I don't. I don't. Eventually, I think I will be getting one. Tomorrow, I'll be getting the dual handle system for it. And I think I'm getting also another something for it. I don't know. I don't know yet. I think it's a monopod system for the crane. I think that's arriving tomorrow as well. And eventually, I'll be reviewing the follow focus module. So I know that on the crane 2, we have this follow focus wheel, right? But it only works with Canon cameras because the firmware for Canon is different than Sony. But they're going to release, Geontech is releasing a separate module specifically for controlling focus. So it's a follow focus, wireless follow focus system. So I'm excited for that to come out. We'll see, we'll review that, and yeah, I'm very excited. Do I know when Juin is coming out with the remote for the Crane 2? I don't. Last I heard is that they are in mass production. They are like back ordered, very, very back ordered. They have a lot of gimbals to produce, a lot of accessories to produce. It's incredible. They're outputting a lot of stuff right now. So stay tuned for that. It's coming. I know we just got to be patient, guys. But don't forget, this is one-of-a-kind type of technology, so everybody wants it. So the demand for it is extremely high. I recently bought a Flycam 4000 and I saw your video from August. I remember you saying that you G. Huh. I don't think you completed your question. Anyway, Miko was here. I'm struggling with the Sony A7S II, not remembering focus with an autofocus lens. Every camera goes to sleep or you turn it on and off. Manual defaults to 0.7 meters. Really annoying. I haven't experienced that, to be honest. I haven't experienced that. What lens are you using? What lens are you using? Make sure that your lens and your camera bodies are up to date with the firmware. Lenses have their own firmware and bodies have their own firmware. I know that some of you don't know that and some of you do, but when I first got my Sony cameras, I didn't realize that, you know, this was in 2012, 2013. I didn't realize that lenses have their own firmware. They do. So make sure you keep your lenses up to date with the firmware. Anton is asking, apart from the 35mm 1.8, are there any other lightweight lenses for gimbal use on a Sony a6300? Autofocus is important. Lightweight lenses? Honestly, if you're looking for like 1.8 lenses, 2.8 lenses, they're not going to be lightweight. A 35mm is actually a fantastic 1.8 lens. Autofocus is important. So I also use a 16-35 lens for f4. It's not light. I'll tell you that right now. It has excellent autofocus, excellent picture quality. So it's a Zeiss f4 16-35. I've just answered a few questions on Facebook regarding why sometimes I prefer f4 over 2.8. When you're shooting on a wide lens like a 16-35, you're not going to really get a shallow depth of field with such a wide lens. So an f2.8 and an f4, you know, I don't feel like spending $600–700 more on a G Master 2.8 when at an f4 I can get very similar shots. F4 lenses at times can even be sharper than 2.8s. So I went with the 16-35 f4 Zeiss, and I'm very, very happy with that lens. Now, when it comes down to telephoto lenses, that's when aperture starts getting very, very important. For example, 70-200 G Master 2.8, there will be a huge difference between that G Master 2.8 and the Sony G Lens f4. You're talking about telephoto here, so you're going to get a much more shallow depth of field. But with a 2.8, you're going to get a much shallower depth of field and better low light performance than you will on an f4 70-200. So when you start talking about telephoto lenses and even sometimes even mid-range lenses, that's when aperture starts becoming extremely, extremely, extremely important. So that's why with the 70-200, I'm going to go right to the G Master instead of going to the f4. I need that 2.8, not that f4. So I hope that makes sense to you. Again, with a wider lens like a 14, 16, and even an 18mm, you're not going to get that shallow depth of field. like you would. It's just this wide lens. You're not going to get a really shallow depth of field there. You might get slightly better low light performance with the 2.8. Again, when I'm shooting with my A9 and Sony A7S, these sensors are very powerful, so they're very sensitive in low light. So that, those few stops don't really matter to me. 2.8 and f4, it's very few stops, so it doesn't really matter to me. When you're using a really good low light camera, that difference in stops shouldn't matter. But when we're talking about telephoto, again, I'll state it again because it's very important. Telephoto, a lot more important to have a higher f-stop number than on a wide lens. MC Drone, hey Josh, what's up, dude? How you doing? So guys, I hope what I just said makes sense. If it doesn't, let me know. But that's, that's the #1 reason why I feel like aperture is not as important on wide lenses as it is on telephoto lenses. MC Drone, thank you so much for your donation, bro. Thank you for your super chat. I really appreciate that, man. Fantastic. Thank you so much. MC Drone's been a long-time supporter. Yeah, man. Thank you. Okay. So I'm just heating up the down movement in the Jewel and Crane version 2, so I'm considering selling it and getting a glide cam. Is that a good decision, or I got same I know it's all about how you walk. Can you rephrase your comment? I'm a little bit confused by your comment. So you're debating on whether or not you should sell your Crane V2 for the glide cam. Is this a good decision or not? Honestly, look, you have to break it down to this. How much time do you have to learn a new piece of equipment? Glide cams have a massive, massive learning curve. With electronic gimbals, you don't have such a massive learning curve. So it depends up to you. How much time do you have to learn new filmmaking equipment? Me right now, since I've been so busy lately, if I had to learn something, if I didn't know what a glide cam was or how to use one, I probably would much more prefer a gimbal, which is automatically stabilizing no matter how I hold it. Glide cams, guys, it took me months to perfect learning how to use a glide cam. Months. And I'm talking about 12-hour days at least, simply practicing how to use a glide cam. I've been obsessed with glide cams. I've been using them for years. But you have to understand there is a huge learning curve with these things. They're not easy. They are not easy. A 3-axis gimbal like the Crane is so much easier. I turned it off here, but yeah, a Crane is so much easier to just use. It's so much more user-friendly. So honestly, if I were you, go with an electronic gimbal. I'm just being honest with you. Go with the gimbal because you're going to be happier in the short term and in the long term. Gimbals are the future. It is. And they're only going to get better now because there's always quirks with electronic gimbals, but they're going to get way, way better. Compared to the first generation of the Crane, this one is a much improved gimbal. Much improved. So, and don't forget that these types of gimbals, electronic gimbals, are much more easier to travel with than a glide cam. Glide cams are much bigger, they're bulkier. These ones are easier to pack up and just put in your backpack. Consider that. I haven't, ever since I started using the Crane, I haven't touched my glide cam. I haven't. So that should tell you something. That should really tell you something. And on top of that, listen, glide cams don't automatically rebalance when you add accessories. Let's say I have to quickly add on a light, add on a microphone. The Crane will automatically adjust the motors to properly balance this whole system out. If I add a light, if I add a mic on a glide cam, it's going to immediately flop over, and then I need to take extra time to rebalance the glide cam to compensate for the weight. For whenever I'm using a zoom lens, when I'm zooming in, zooming out, I need to change the weight on the balance on the glide cam. On the Crane gimbals, you change the lens, it automatically compensates for that weight, so you don't have to worry about that. It's easy, but it's not that smooth. Heating up and down movement when I walk ninja. So you got to practice, my friend. You got to practice with that. I strongly believe that you have to practice the walk. I mean, listen, if you can't walk well with a gimbal, what makes you think you can walk well with a glide cam? If anything, if you don't know how to walk, a glide cam would be a worse decision for you, because walking is a specific walk for a glide cam is much more important than a specific walk for a gimbal, because again, gimbals are electronically stable, so they have computers that are watching out for you. A glide cam does not watch out for you. It's all manual. So consider that. You know, you have gimbals that do all these things for you. You just have to take some of that responsibility into your own hands, and that is the walking and how you hold your hands and your arms and your shoulders. With a glide cam, the responsibility is 110% all on you. It's all you. Whatever you do wrong, the glide cam does wrong. On a gimbal, the gimbal can, for the most part, correct all of your wrongdoings. So consider that. It's a really, really big deal. Yeah. So good question. We covered some really good points here. Any more questions, my friends? Any more questions at all? Let me know. I recently switched from a steadicam to a joint crane. I gotta say, I absolutely love how well it works, but I've recently started to wonder if there are any tips to get more natural results with it. Okay. Now I want you to tell me this. What do you consider natural? I want you to tell me in the comment section. What do you consider natural? All right, let me know. Lewis says, and if you do the ninja walk with the camera alone, if you do the ninja walk with the camera alone, will slightly help you. Not even, no, you're not going to get near the results that you would on the crane. Calvin Wolf, what's up, dude? Ralph Lewis says, I'm using the handlebar and I find it easier to walk with. Yes, so I'm getting my handlebar system tomorrow. There will be a review on that. So, yeah. Calvin Wolf is asking what net neutrality is. Okay, I think this is actually a very relevant question for all of you creators out there. Let's talk about net neutrality a little bit. So, when Obama was president, he passed a law saying that websites should be treated equally around net providers. So let's say you have AT&T, right? AT&T cannot charge the user extra for accessing a website. All websites should be treated equal. So if you have AT&T, that means that you should be able to access any website you want without paying any surcharge. That's net neutrality. Now net neutrality has been revoked, meaning that AT&T can charge customers money to visit certain websites. And if customers refuse to pay that, then AT&T can limit the amount of data they give the customer for accessing that website. So they can actually slow down the load rate. So let's say if they wanted to limit YouTube, they can make YouTube load extremely slow. And the customer would have to pay more money to AT&T in order to get that normal speed back up for that website. So that's the difference between net neutrality and non-net neutrality. For me, I'm for net neutrality. I think that all websites should be treated equally. And if you're a creator, I don't know if this is not international, this is only in the United States, but if you're a creator in the United States and if they limit YouTube, that means that you're gonna have to pay extra for accessing YouTube and uploading to YouTube. And that is absolutely, absolutely awful. Same thing for Facebook. If you access Facebook, they will charge you for Facebook now. So, I mean, that's a very big deal, and it's very bad how it's been revoked. That's the only political thing that I'm going to state. I love the internet, and if you take the internet away from me, then I'm going to fight back. And I'm already in the works. I've signed a few petitions, and I'll be a part of any rally that supports net neutrality. So I'm for net neutrality. If you live in the United States, hopefully you are for net neutrality as well, and you'll sign any petition that will help out revoke the anti-net neutrality laws, because I feel like net neutrality is a very important thing. Vasily says, "Yo, you have done a really nice videos about balancing glide cams, but still difficult to achieve dynamic balance." Again, my friend, this is all trial and error. You got to keep working with it as much as you can. Trial and error is key. The more practice you have, the better. I think I have over 40 glidecam videos that can show you exactly step by step on how to do that. Use that to your advantage. That should greatly help you out with learning how to use a glidecam. Yeah. So if I use a vest and an arm with a Jewin crane, did this make a big difference and make it even smoother, or is it just to use for a lot of time? Listen, I think you can get better results, if not the same results, handheld. A vest is, for my opinion, I used to own a vest. I got rid of it because it just sat in my room collecting dust. In my opinion, a vest is great for wedding cinematographers, especially if they're shooting receptions that are usually 4 hours long. So if you need to shoot for, let's say, like an hour straight without setting down the camera, a vest system is exactly what you need. But don't forget, a vest system is a pain to put on. It's a pain to travel with. So there's a lot of issues with a vest system. Okay, keep that in mind, because that was a pretty big deal for me. That's why I got rid of it. It was just too big, too bulky, and it was not the right thing for me. Ellis says, I've done the wedding with the new Jewin crane. I'm assuming the Jewin crane too, right? And you say that it's a really good gimbal. Yeah, completely agree. Lewis says, would you please post a video showing me the Ninja Walk with 1 camera alone, 2 camera on a handheld handlebar, and then camera on a mechanical stabilizer, and then camera on an electronic gimbal? Yeah, we'll see. I already have a video online comparing a glide cam to a gimbal, so you should check that out. I've already been there, done that, my friend. You got to type in glide cam versus Jewin crane, and you'll find that video. Anton says, in my question above, I meant a more smoother overall and not a mechanical look. So, okay, I see what you're saying. So Anton was asking, how do you make a gimbal produce more natural shots? I released a video a few days ago explaining what each parameter does, like how to change gimbal parameters to make it fit better with your shooting style. Check out that tutorial video, because it's going to tell you how to change deadband. And deadband is basically, and the smoothness of the gimbal. So you need to play around with those parameters and see what works with you. With the gimbal, the horizon, for the most part, is always going to be straight. So if you're looking for weird shots where you got to get like an abstract horizon, you got to control the roll. That I also have a tutorial on, so you got to check that out. But you can adjust the parameters on the gimbal to make it shoot your that doesn't make any sense. Make it fit your shooting style. Okay. Ellis Media says you shot with the crane for 15 hours of a wedding all day. Wow, very good, very good. says, I recommend buying a DSLR or GH4, GH5. So I have the GH4. I love the picture quality. I hate the autofocus. And the GH5 has the same problem with autofocus. I still have the GH4. I use it as like a vlogging camera. But my main shooter right now is the Sony A9. Okay? Fast, it's the fastest camera on the market. No camera is faster with autofocus or with taking pictures than the Sony A9. Nothing on the market will beat it. Not Canon, not Nikon. It's a Sony A9, okay? Fastest camera. So I don't mean to gloat or anything, but I'm just telling you right now, I have that camera for a reason. Autofocus is a big deal to me. I hate pulling focus. I hate it. I can't stand it. I feel like it takes away a lot of your focus away from the actual shot and makes you worry about a dial. I don't like that. I'd rather have the camera do the capturing and me doing the controlling of the gimbal, the movements, and the framing. I want the camera to do all of the focusing and all the recording. I want to focus on the movement, the dynamics, and the framing. And I will do a framing tutorial for gimbals as well. That will be coming. Guys, I have so many tutorials to shoot. You have no idea. And I have a lot more review videos. I actually need to shoot a review video later today on how to, you know, a bag that I have that I will be traveling to CES with. Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm going to that in January. So if you guys are going, make sure you say hi to me, okay? Hopefully some of you are going to CES, because I'll be there. Soldier says, good lenses for the Sony A6500. I don't have any recommendations for you, my friend, because it's a crop sensor camera and I shoot only on full frame. Well, I shoot on the GH4 too. That's crop sensor, but I shoot mainly with full frame cameras. So I can't really recommend any lenses to you, my friend. I'm sorry about that. Lewis says, I saw that one. I want to compare the Movo photo versus the glidecam. I don't have the Movo photo, so I can't do that comparison. You forget about the A7R3. It has super autofocus and have picture profiles, not like the A9. A7R3 in no way is as fast as the A9. Nope. No, 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 no. A9 buffer is a lot larger than A7R3. A9 autofocus has, I think, over 200 more autofocus points than the A7R3. Picture profiles for me on the A9, honestly, I haven't had issues with the dynamic range, so I could care less anymore about the picture profiles, to be honest with you. Yeah, that is my take. A7R3, good camera. I'm not talking trash about the A7R3. Fabulous camera. It has double the megapixel rate compared to the A9. That's great. It's going to have higher dynamic range in photos than the A9. However, when it comes to video, I'll be honest with you, the video quality hasn't improved from the A7R2 to the A7R3. It's the same sensor. However, on the Sony A9, we are using a 6K sensor. It's a 6K sensor. And what is happening, it's down-resing it to 4K in order to comply with the processing and the battery and the buffer and all that stuff. We have a 6K sensor in the Sony A9, guys. Not many of you know that. It's a 6K sensor. It's capturing 6K data and down-resing it to 4K. So you're going to get sharper images. And we get full pixel readout. Full pixel readout on the Sony A9 in video mode, which means that each pixel is being used. All right? So, yeah. Soldier Edit says A7R series versus the A7S series in your opinion. A7S way better for video than A7R. Again, you're getting that full pixel readout and you're getting quadruple the low light sensitivity. Len is asking, when I film the Crane 2, I can hear the camera autofocus motors. Maybe I should turn autofocus off. Thoughts? How loud is the autofocus? It should be pretty close to quiet. Mine is pretty quiet. I leave it on and I don't hear it in my microphones, even when it's mounted directly on top of the camera. So yeah. Can you talk about the quick release plate on the Flycam 4000? I don't have the Flycam 4000, so I can't talk about that, unfortunately. Yeah. What other questions do you guys have for me? More of you tuning in, which means I'm questions and not just watching me. A little bit awkward on my end. But yeah, again, as I said earlier, I'm doing these live streams for you guys so that if you have any questions, you ask me now, okay? Len says, I was going to send you the video when I work it out and you will see. Perfect. They don't make any improvements because they say they have for A7S III are going to be smart. Mark. Okay, so they don't want to make any video improvements for the A7R3 because the A7S III will be coming out. Okay. We'll see what the A7S III is. If I really like the A7S III, if I really enjoy the... Oh, man, I'm going to be spending a lot of money again. I promised myself I wouldn't, but I feel like I am. But if the A7S III comes out, which is supposed to come out, I think, in about February, 7S Mark I, along with the lens, probably Rokinon, and then I'll be buying the A7S III with a G Master 20 to what is it, 70 to 200. So that's going to cost me about $6,000 minus what I'll get for my A7S. So it'll probably cost me about $3,800, $3,900. Soldier Edits says, do you do YouTube for a living? You mean only on my YouTube channel, or do I just produce YouTube videos? I produce YouTube videos for a living, yes. For different clients, for myself, yes, I do that for a living. Matthew Thomas, regarding the Crane 2, how does it handle acceleration and deceleration? Do the motors resist inertia and maintain position? Also, are the card slots still accessible without removing the camera? Okay, Matthew, very good, very, very good question. Let me turn on the light here. It's getting a little dark. That didn't do much, but it's better than nothing. Okay, let's talk about... Okay, so here's the Crane 2. First, let's talk about the card slots because that's easy to talk about. Turn it off really quick. Card slots right here. Very easy to access, even on the Sony A9. And there's a card slot. When it comes down to inertia, I'll tell you something. On the Crane V2, excellent. Because I'll tell you, I shot this commercial for Resvani Motors, and I literally stuck my Sony A9 and my Crane V2 outside of a moving car. We were going about 25, 30 miles an hour. My Crane was in inverted mode, and the footage came out extremely stable. So it handles wind resistance very well, it handles drag very well. Acceleration, deceleration, does a very good job. I haven't had any issues with the Crane gimbals. So yeah, I've stuck it out of moving cars already. And because the motors on the Crane 2 are much more powerful than on the Crane version 2, you're going to get better performance, especially on windy days. So that's why I recommend that you use the Crane 2 over the Crane V2. You get that power. You get that torque. So it's going to be a lot more helpful to you than when using the Crane V2. But if you're on a tight budget, Crane V2 all the way. I completely understand. Len says, so much money to spend in this game. Yes, filmmaking is one of the most expensive hobbies One of the most expensive careers you can have. But here's the thing. Here's the thing. When it comes down to accessories, you don't need to keep upgrading accessories. The biggest thing that you need to keep upgrading or getting more of is lenses. Even the bodies, you don't have to upgrade bodies every year. Upgrade bodies every 5 years. You know, I'm a shopaholic. I love buying tech. I buy things that I don't need. It's just, I do it for fun. It makes me happy, so I just do it. But don't follow in my footsteps. Because I buy a new camera every other year doesn't mean you should be buying a camera every other year. I know that some people bought the A7R2 last year, and as soon as the A7R3 came out, they bumped that. Don't do it. Buy maybe every other generation. Wait 5 years, then upgrade. Make sure that your investment pays off. You know, make sure that your dollars work for you very, very hard. Matthew says, superb answers. Thank you so much. Thank you, my friend. Len says, I didn't realize that lenses also have firmware updates. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. But you update them by plugging them, screwing them onto your camera, and then that's how you update it. You can't, there's no USB connection into the actual lens. You have to put it into the camera body. Yeah. Did I answer everyone's question? I'll take 2 more questions, and then I got to start filming a review video. So let me know if you have any more questions for me. If you aren't subscribed, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. Please subscribe. Please, please, please share this channel with your friends. And if you can, make a donation by throwing me a super chat. Press that super chat icon. It will throw me a donation, and those donations help me purchase new filmmaking equipment so I can review them for you guys and make tutorials on them. So super chats are always welcome. If you can't super chat, please please share this channel with your friends. You know, get that subscription rate going up, that view count going up, and that will be fantastic. All right. Len says, how are you going with the fires, mate? Trust you're safe. So the fires are in Santa Barbara. It's about 1.5 hours away, 2 hours away from me. Yeah. Okay. All right, guys, my friends, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you guys watching. And stay tuned for the next video. Should be coming out tomorrow, Wednesday. And we have some exciting new pieces of equipment coming, and I can't wait to show you what that is. All right? All right, guys. I'll talk to you very soon.